Hey guys, you are on my show this evening. I'm Nat Rich, and this is a new one in the series that we have. We are actually live on YouTube with two new friends and an extra person that I know and love already that you've probably seen before. But this is going to be part of my Unfuck Your Life series, and it's going to be all around money, addictions, ownership, and just showing up to be your best self. So I'm going to start with who you may know, which is Patrick. How are you, Patrick?
Oh, I'm fabulous. So excited to be back with you, Nat.
No, I'm very happy to have you at the moment. There's just so much going on. I think I could pull you in for every show. It's crazy, but we'll get there. We'll just do one at a time.
That's it.
And Patrick was Patrick interviewed me on a podcast previously, and that podcast was some time ago. It basically, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago. Mm-hmm. And what you did was interview me, and we talked about conscious sex and a number of other things. And then I stalked your podcast after I'd been on it and saw these two fabulous guests. So I was like, oh my God, I want Michael Dash and I want Adam as well, please. So I just thought we'll invite you all together to come on and talk about money, awkwardness, and anything else that rolls out of us today. So thank you for being the co-creator of this one, Patrick.
My pleasure. So excited to be here.
Yay. Okay, so Adam, I'm going to jump over to you. How are you today? Welcome to my show.
I'm absolutely fantastic. Thank you for asking, and thank you for hosting and having me. Should be a lot of fun.
Do you know what? Your voice sounds so good. God, this is a great mic. I need to find out what microphone this is.
Oh, it's probably just my amazing voice.
Yeah, it's just your amazing deep voice. You sound like a proper radio professional. And coming from someone who has a radio station, I need your voice. Oh, I love it.
Thank you very much for the compliment. I'm actually just using the Shure SM7B, pretty standard mic, and the rest of it is it's all me.
Oh, I love it. There you go. Deep voice for you guys this evening. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Adam, what you do and kind of what you're most interested in.
That's a loaded question. We got more than an hour.
Definitely.
What do I do? For the most part, I eradicate depression and anxiety in people. I have them sort of reassess what it is they're doing, why they're doing it, what they see, what they're seeing, how they see what they're seeing. Basically, it's a reprogramming of the mind. Just sort of reshuffle everything to get you kind of aligned with who you're supposed to be, as opposed to what all of the masses have told you you're supposed to be. We line that up, and we have a lot of fun with that, and everybody kind of walks away a lot happier, healthier, and more positive. It's a lot of fun.
Love that. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm sure you're going to be an added value to this. So we're going to go over to Michael. I put you on mute then just because I could hear some background noise, but hello, welcome to the room. How are you?
Hello, I am quite well.
You're going to take the piss out of my accent for a solid hour. I can feel it.
No, I'll bring the Jersey accent to the table here.
That's all right. You can bring it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are so amazed about money and what you've been doing with your brand.
Yes, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. I am a serial entrepreneur, an author. Have a nonprofit, and that we're having a retreat for in Costa Rica actually next month, all focused on mental health within the entrepreneur community, and just a believer in doing good. Ooh. And yeah, and I'm an author also. So I wrote a book called Chasing the High, and there's a chapter in there devoted to money and my relationship with money, my turbulent relationship with money, that over the years has taken a bunch of different matriculations, as I like to say, in terms of like how I valued money, how I didn't value money, what money did to me, what it drove me to do, the chase for money, and everything that encompasses. And I actually just did a book. I moved to Tulum like 8 months ago, and I did a book launch, and I read the chapter on money. So it's an appropriate time. This is just like 2 weeks ago. So it's an appropriate time to be piggybacking off of that and continuing that discussion.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I know I was looking at your profiles and I just thought you guys kind of stood out, and I thought it'd be great to have just a real general conversation around money. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of focus on this evening is a lot of, and this is not just for guys, but obviously I wanted to focus tonight's show basically around the kind of male mindset, the provider, what that actually means, the kind of anxiety that comes with that, the energy that that brings up, the pressures, the stresses, because money is, money can be great. It's just full of abundance and energy if you understand it correctly, or it can be one of the hardest things that there ever was on the planet. And there's our mindset around money and what it does to our self-worth and our value and our understanding of who we are can be greatly affected whether we have money or whether we don't, or whether we can't earn it. And it really can come up as a huge problem along any path, let alone a spiritual, personal kind of development path where you're figuring out who you are and what it is you want to do. So I am going to chuck a question first over to you, Patrick. I will take you off mute. So in terms of kind of being a provider, what does that mean to you, and kind of what pressures has that brought to you? Oh, hi.
So just apropos, this is my cat, Miss Moneypenny. So she just wandered into the conversation to say hello. Miss Moneypenny. Yes, the provider role. I was actually having this conversation with somebody this morning on how much pressure personally I have felt in my life as a father to be a provider, to play that role as the protector, and to make money. And frankly, my relationship with money has been definitely influenced by that energy, and not in a good way necessarily, because I'm such a heart-centered person. I feel everything. And I had a belief around money that it is evil, in the sense that, the people that have been oppressing, the elites, the governments of the world who use money to manipulate and impress the people, that's something I became aware of very early, and that did not resonate with my heart-centered, loving approach to life. And so when it came to the role of being a provider, there was a lot of dissonance that came up. It's like, okay, I know I need to provide, but I don't want to play the game that's been conditioned into us, that I need to follow these rules. I need to go to a good school and get the degree and get the job and work 60 hours a week. All that bullshit that's fed to us, I didn't subscribe to. So I was left in this sort of place where, okay, how do I rectify my heart-centered approach to life while still playing the capitalist game to be the provider? And those three poles have been a very challenging place in my life, even to this day, as I move more into a heart-centered business. Actually making money from a heart-centered place has been a challenge for me. But one of the shifts I made, which is fundamental into my mindset, is that, okay, if these people that are in power have a lot of money, that gives them a lot of influence, a lot of power, if we want to shift the world to a more heart-centered approach, then the people that are heart-centered need to make a lot of money too, because it will enable them to transmit their mission and their purpose to the world in a more powerful way. So that's where the shift has come for me. And then by corollary, that also makes me a better provider for my children, for my family, for my community. And so that influence ripples outward. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. I've just found out that I can put one person on at a time while they're speaking, which is great. So I love that. So I heard what you were saying, and what I wanted to, put out there really is to Adam, you are now main on the screen. Basically, I'm getting this right as I go along. You as a man hearing what Patrick's just said, what's your views on that? How's your journey been? Is that replicated in some way?
Very similar. Patrick had a lot more responsibility than I ever had. Wife, kids, that sort of thing. I never made that leap. I never made that determination in with myself. I came to basically the same, I guess the same realizations. The powers that be are manipulating everything that we're doing. That's something that sounds, very tinfoil hatty, at least up until this year. And then people are now starting to really see that is accurate. It's accurate. So there's freedoms everywhere. And the idea too about, how you want to pursue money, what you want it to be, is it changes everything when you do start operating again from a more heart-centric position. And again, to Patrick's note, I would stress the fact that not only do you, it's never about having the money, it's about the pursuit of and who you become during the process. So whether or not we do acquire the money, well, the truth is you never acquire the money, because even if you acquire all the money, there's still more of it. So your mind will never be, this is enough, this is satiated. You can't ever have enough of something that's boundless. So you'll constantly hunt it. But what happens in the pursuit is you shift. Eventually you make enough. Eventually in your own mind, you'll start realizing that this is boring. The hunt for money is boring. Simple things take place. Simple things change inside who you are when it comes to money. You want to make some money? Go put $100 on a long shot gamble bet and win. There comes the power of thinking positive and all that sort of stuff. So many people don't understand that. So many people haven't yet grasped manifestation. But I'll get into that in a quick second. But as to Patrick's point, he mentioned the people that are heart-centric gaining the money to fight those that have the money. But what happens in that journey and on that process as well is that you meet like-minded people. So on that journey, I've met Patrick because we have the same heart energy, because we have the same push. You connect. And then when the two of you connect and offer your gifts, you end up on a show like this, where more people are now impacted, more people are able to reach out. And now you have a situation where a lot of people can connect and reach out. And anyone that's operating from a pure position will acquire whatever they want. Nobody wants money. Nobody wants anything other than happiness. The problem with money right now and how it's all been stated is money buys happiness. The thing too is if you earn a lot of money, you realize how miserable you are. There's no joy in a lot of money. There's just more headaches, more problems, more situations, more issues, more people coming to you with their hands out, including the government. Give us your money so we can go to war. Fuck you. So for me, the whole situation with regards to money is the ultimate slavery tool. Those that have all the money, quote unquote, the Bilderberg's Trilateral Commission, the royals, your precious little queen, all of these peasants are the problem. They don't need money. They invented money to keep us chasing our tail and hunting through the dark.
I love that. It's very powerful. There's so much to kind of pack in there, which I've just scribbled down on a little bit of paper, but I'm going to jump straight over to Michael. I'm going to take you off mute and I'm going to make you so you have a full screen for you. So Michael, what's your thoughts on what these guys have just said? How does that make you feel?
Well, I have a different view on things, and I have a different path than both of them. I grew up the son of an entrepreneur, so I was taught at an early age how to make money, and I was pretty good at it. I was really a very good salesperson from 8 years old. My dad had me working in his store, so I learned pretty quickly how to generate money, how to close sales, and I was very good at it. But there was this embedded expectation that I felt that I had to be as successful or more successful than my father. And what that meant was make more money. What that meant was be an entrepreneur. What that meant was chase, accumulate just for the sake of accumulating. And like what was just said, and one of the sections in my book, it's called More Money, More Problems, because it is true. As I continued down the path, and I had a gambling problem too. So the reference to gambling before was kind of ironic. And I don't suggest that. Do not go and place a bet on anything. It is addictive. And I had a 20-year gambling addiction. And it was so my addictions were around money. My career and my pursuit of everything was around money. I was like going door to door in college selling home improvements, trying to close all these really poor people in DC and Baltimore and get them credit that they shouldn't qualify for and couldn't really pay, just so I could sell these windows, roofing, siding, decks, because I was actually being manipulated by the company I worked for. And being a college kid, I didn't really know any better. And I just chased the dollar. So I have always been chasing money. And when it led me to building a successful company. But on the flip side of that, it led me to a 6-year legal battle with my ex-business partner, where I spent $1 million that I had in my bank account. I spent on lawyers' fees just over this lawsuit, just because my ego was so driven by not losing, by making the money back, by not allowing, quote unquote, her to screw me over, because that's how I felt at the time after I bought her out, that I manipulated. I was doing crazy things with money at the time. I was hiding money because I was convinced that I was going to go bankrupt. So I searched all over the country to find how many banks were not regulated by the government. And there's like 4 or 5 banks that were started by Native Americans that are unregulated. And I found it, and I was hiding money in there because I was convinced I would have to go bankrupt. And so the things that money did to me at that time, now I was also a different person. I was doing, I had some addictions I was dealing with, and I was borrowing money, paying money. I was, had other investments going on. But it all led to this obsessive compulsive mindset that really took over every single thought, every single moment of my life. And it was all I was able to focus on this is up until I sold my company and kind of changed my life about 3 to 4 years ago.
So take myself on mute then. There's so much in all of your kind of individual stories. And I think so many people that are going to be watching this can actually reference themselves in amongst every area that you guys have spoke, because they're quite common problems to have. Some of the things that, for me, people think that I'm rich because it's not rich. And it's like, no, that's not the case yet. I'm rich in other things, but not necessarily a bit in money. And I've chosen a certain path. Some of that for a period of time was to, be skint. If I need to be skint for a while, it's okay. I'll make myself happy skint. And it's a really valuable lesson that I've learned, is to be happy even if I've had nothing. And that's something that I find is truly important. But we're going through this position. I mean, I want to kind of unpack, we'll go back to Patrick for a second with what you were saying. I've got a few comments around what each of you said. Patrick, you were talking about kind of being a father and realizing, coming from a heart-centered space, that in itself is a beautiful journey to go on. And it's hard to realize that the people at the top of the tree at the moment in our planet don't necessarily have hearts in the way that we'd like them to. It's hard to know that we are the ones that have to kind of step up and equalize with these people, because without having the equal power and the equal money, there is very little chance of us getting out the situation that we've got at the moment. And just hats off basically to you as well for realizing that within yourself, because it's such a powerful place to go into. And it isn't easy to choose your heart over your bank account, to choose your morals over the next bonus or the next, the next kick here or there. How have you had conversations with your kids around that? Have they kind of seen that in you? Because I think this is a really good area. Some fathers will hide this journey that you've gone through, but have you felt to share that with your kids?
Yeah, no, great question. So when I sort of had my major transformation a number of years ago, I described it to my kids in a metaphor of building a house. So I had built a house with a shoddy foundation, is how I explained it to them. And, because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And so at that point, I had the courage to tear down my entire existence, my identity, my career, even my marriage fell apart, my personality, my belief system. I tore it all down intentionally down to the foundation so I could rebuild. And so I've explained to my kids that this is what I'm doing. I'm taking down all this shoddy work and I'm rebuilding the way that I want to, that is most powerful for me, in alignment with myself, for my family, and for the planet at the same time. And each day that I'm at work, they're like, "Daddy, are you putting another brick on the house? How far along are you now?" And so we get to interact with, what my journey has been. And so that's been really powerful. And in fact, one of the things that I've turned to as a powerful tool, and this could be a topic, is cryptocurrency, and the blockchain being a decentralized format that could potentially take power away from the centralized banking cartels. And so actually I opened an account, a wallet for my children the other night, and we went and bought them some Bitcoin. So every time they get, some allowance or they get some money from grandma, it's going directly not into a bank where they're going to, give you 0.04% or even take your money. It's going into a decentralized network where they can control their money. They can watch it grow. And that's something empowering I've done for them.
That's so powerful. So I'm loving the fact that I'm going to take myself solo layout. Do I get to go on solo? Oh, there we go. Woo-hoo. Loving this. I feel like I'm so in control more than normal. But it's so good that you said around crypto, because I'm going to kind of come back also to what Michael said and to what Adam said, but obviously we're going to come back to crypto with a few of that, because that's a massive subject for me at the moment. I have several wallets. I have several different points of investment. I'm into many different altcoins. I'm obsessed because I love the future perspective of what's going on in the world of like DeFi finance, and really being able to look at this decentralized landscape and say, right, how do we change the game? What do we need to do? What do we need to learn? How do we need to grow? What do we need to kind of invest in? And what can that do for our society on a whole? So I'm totally up for more of those conversations. But I wanted to touch on what, Adam, you were saying. Really interesting when you mentioned about the current state of the world that we're looking at. I've said quite a few times recently is people will either take the piss out of people saying tinfoil hat club or conspiracy wear or whatever. But for me, an observation has been I've spent 12 years looking into conspiracies, hidden mysteries, science, all that kind of stuff that I've really found quite interesting. Some people will laugh. Some people say, oh, that's a conspiracy theorist. But what I noticed is that all the conspiracy theorists that I know that are worth their salt, that have been doing this for some time, have their survival gear sorted. They have a financial freedom kind of plan. They've got their exit out of society if that's what they want, or they've got some form of way to be able to look after themselves in the darkest of times. You go over to the finance world and you speak to the best investors in the world, which I'm lucky enough to have some of them on the show. Basically, some of these investors, top investors around the world, they've got the survival gear, they've got their exit plan, they're into their crypto. They're treating these two scenarios, whether you're looking at it from a conspiracy perspective or whether you're looking at it from a finance perspective. They are doing exactly the same things and going into the same direction because they believe that there is a darker time to come. And this is not fear porn. What I'm doing, the essence around these shows is not to create fear within you, but it's actually to give you a plan, to be able to help you come into a space where you feel like you've actually got control and you can do something around this. Because anxiety can come from not knowing, from the overwhelm of not being prepared. But if you are prepared and you can take tips from these guys or any of my other guests, then this is the time to listen up. But have you kind of dipped into the crypto world yourself, Andrew? Adam, have you just kind of gone in there and had a look at it? Is that something that's on your radar?
I have an ample supply of cryptocurrency.
Amazing.
You'd have to be an absolute fool not to. I apologize to your guests as well. I do come across as abrasive from time to time. My statement originally with regards to making the gambling bet that met with some ire from the bottom left was that's where he is in the box that I'm seeing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not replying to his political leaning. I'm sure nobody's down here. So the interesting thing about cryptocurrency is I don't like, it doesn't matter. Money itself money doesn't give a shit. So crypto doesn't, if you think crypto is a conspiracy, and if you don't want to invest your money in crypto, who cares? That's entirely up to you. And I understand that we're here to help people sort of get to where they want to be. But I'm talking to the people that are like, you're an idiot for investing in crypto, because there's a lot of people out there that don't only want to have an opinion, they want to fight you with regards to their opinion. I would love to help you invest in crypto if you're interested. I would love to help anyone who's interested in stepping their game up, step their game up. But if you want to run your mouth, go right ahead. Just don't direct it at me. So I'm not talking to you or to anybody on the show or anything like that. I'm talking about basically the guests. I'm the listeners, sorry, not the guests. I'm all over the place here. I'm talking to you, Patrick. Come at me, bro. But so how it works out, the bottom line of all this sort of stuff is no matter what's going to happen, here is the logistics of what cryptocurrency is. Currently, in this state, they have said because of COVID, we do not accept paper money. And there's all sorts of beliefs on COVID. I personally think it's bullshit. Everybody's got sick. Everybody's got this. Everybody's got that. But there's so many things out there that just don't line up and nobody wants to ask any questions. And if you do want to ask questions, you're an asshole, right? So basically the best thing I can do is stay in my lane, make my observations, and act accordingly. Do I have a place to escape? Of course. Of course I have a place to escape to. There's no, if the city burns down, I've got a place on the lake, in the woods. There's no rhyme or reason to not protect yourself. There's no rhyme or reason to believe that anybody here is going to save you. When Patrick also mentioned tearing down oneself, I went through the same thing, Dark Night of the Soul, numerous times. I ripped apart every essence and ounce of what I assumed I was supposed to be. And in the rebuild process, you just simply observe. You don't have to prove yourself right or wrong. You don't have to even have conversations with people that want to argue with you. By all means, have your opinions. When it comes to cryptocurrency, right back down to this bare nuts on this particular topic, the world is shifting away from fiat, which is the currency that we're all familiar with, whether you want to believe it or not. The world is shifting away. Bitcoin may not be the final answer, but there's nowhere else to go. And if the powers that be, if the great conspiracies are all true, then we're heading towards one world government, a new world order. And if that's the case, then they're going to need a currency, aren't they? So maybe it's not Litecoin, crypto, maybe it's not Ethereum, maybe it's not Bitcoin, maybe it's not any of these things, but it's going to be something along those lines. The money's going to have to come from somewhere and go to somewhere, or at least the idea of what the money is, because fiat is dying. The fiat was dead in 2008, the first collapse. The pushback from the collapse, the bailing out of the bankers, the buddy system screwed everyone, screwed everything. The whole, what we're experiencing at this very moment in time, this very moment right now, this great reset isn't financial. It is all encompassing. And moving into the future, what's happening with money, what's going to happen with money is my technology, my bots are going to talk to your bots. My stuff, wherever I'm pointing at things, my stuff is going to talk to your stuff. I'm going to say, okay, whatever current voice is on the talkie box, transfer this to that, or acquire this from that, or pick this up from that. And by all standards of everything that we've already seen and doing and are doing at this moment in time, that's happening. When was the last time you held a wad of cash? I mean, I have a ton of cash because that's a good idea. I have a ton of raw materials because that's a good idea. I have a ton of Bitcoin because that's a good idea. If any one thing fails, then there's the other fallback because that's a good idea. Now there's over obsessing, like Michael was talking about, and that is all encompassing too. And that takes away from your ability to enjoy life. By the way, I'm going to want the name of some of those banks you found earlier. But if you can live through it and enjoy it and embrace it for what it is, and what it is essentially an experience. If you tie no personal duty or thought or feeling to anything that's going on, then you can sit back and enjoy the experience for what it is, for the experience of it all.
I've just taken myself off mute. There's a whole kind of area that most people might be sat at home thinking, what is crypto? What is all this stuff that people are talking about? For me, the best way that I kind of understand it and that I kind of, that I see it at the moment is it's a possible solution for you to find personal freedom within your finances. And it's a possible solution for us to be able to change the way the world currently operates. And to go more into that would be going into a whole other world of crypto. But something I want to be very clear on is if anybody's listening to this, these guys here that are going to be able to answer some of the questions and kind of just reflect on their stories, because we've covered quite a lot, I think, from your personal stories from 3 different perspectives of what money could be and kind of moving into what we're all doing. I think we're all in the same mindset that we're all kind of into crypto. We're moving into that lane. But what we have done is we have found faults in a system that is fundamentally flawed for everybody's use. Now, it works perfectly and seamlessly for those at the top. So it's not a broken system. It's just not designed for us all to thrive. We have found holes within that system because we're looking for more of a global consciousness and a global shift where everybody can thrive. The everybody mindset is not for everybody. Lots of people have a very single focus mindset, and they have a mindset that is just totally self-focused. And we are moving into a space where we're being forced to look at our world in a sustainable kind of way, where we're being forced with climate change, we're being forced around finances, we're being forced around health. And it would seem like there's a lot of solutions out there that if we all come together, we can all do our bit for the planet, which is great. What Adam mentioned there was something called the Great Reset. And this is something that I find quite troubling. Is it's being pushed at the moment as a great solution to be able to solve many of the world's biggest problems. Now, for me, if they were pushing blockchain in the same way that they were pushing the Great Reset, I'd be a very happy person, because I'd think, yeah, cool, blockchain's got a lot of solutions out there. But they're pushing the Great Reset because there comes with this solution a large element of control. So if you were to look at the Great Reset, and you looked at it and you thought, oh, this sounds like a great idea, we're all going to get kind of paid the same amount. So the Great Reset is this idea of you'll own nothing, but you will be happy. And what they mean by that is that they'll get rid of the debts. They'll make everyone go on to a kind of a set wage that you get paid, a universal income. We're all on a similar footing. Nobody's going to own their properties. We're all going to be renting, or it's going to be given to us. We're going to live this better life. Things are going to be more sustainably minded for the future. But in order to have access to that system, you will need to have had your vaccine. You will need to make sure that you adhere to their sets of rules. Now, that is a form of communism, and it's a very big form of control, which we've all individually, which Michael, I'm going to come to in a second, but we've all individually looked at what doesn't work in the world, and we're trying to make changes within ourselves to accommodate the kind of world that we want to see on the outside. And we're noticing the systems that are coming up don't really suit. They might sound like they suit a shared planet and a shared perspective, but they're actually very controlling. So what I want people who's watching this to take away from this is that the information we're talking about today is just a sporadic kind of number of details on various solutions and various things that we're bringing up. But there are options out there, but you have to choose wisely. And before you start choosing these options, you have to do some self-work. You have to find out what fits right for you, what feels good to you, and what works for you. And you have to get to know who you are before you make these decisions, because the people that I've got on today have done a shitload of self-work development to be able to get through themselves, to be able to understand what's going on and to make decisions that serve them. So I'm going to bring you back on, Michael, on this, because I feel you have done an awful lot from reading about you online. A lot of the stuff that you're talking about is, your past. You've had a gambling habit, an addiction habit. Now, are you into crypto? Because I know a lot of the people at the moment that are into crypto, there's two ways of doing it. One would be an investor, and a lot of people are gambling without realizing that they're gambling, and they're riding a wave at the moment that is looking pretty high, and everything you invest in at the moment in the world of crypto seems to look like it's going to be a winner for life. But that's just an illusion. It's called alt season, and it's not always going to be this way. But how do you feel, because you're coming from a gambler's mindset and coming from a lot of self-work around that? How do you feel about crypto, and what do you think the kind of good and bad points are about it?
Well, the answer is yes, I'm in crypto, but I keep it very simple. I'm in Bitcoin and I'm in Ethereum, and that's it. And it's because I learned a very valuable lesson, I guess 2 or 3 years ago, 2018, and I got involved in a crypto company called ShiftChain, and I invested in the ICO, pre-launch, ICU, thank you, pre-launch. I dropped about 30 grand in the thing. I was really bought into this blockchain because it was solving logistics and supply chain issues. And from my previous business, I had a technology recruiting and staffing company. I worked with a lot of e-commerce, and I know the billions of dollars that are lost in lost shipments. So Purdue Farms, if you're familiar with that large, conglomerate, they were backing this, and I had met some of the investors and everything, and I really bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. And it turns out they were soliciting investments from U.S. folks that they were not privy to do. They were not they weren't allowed to do it. They were allowed to take foreign investments, but not U.S. investments. They didn't know this. Anyway, the SEC busted them, shut the whole thing down, and I lost my money like that. So actually, as soon as it went public, it was supposed to come out at, I don't know, $20, and it came out at like less than 10 cents. So my 30K was worth nothing. So at that point, and then everything kind of crashed, and I had bought Bitcoin at, I don't know, 18 at the time, and it went down to like 6. And I just said, I'm out, right? I kept the Bitcoin I had sitting there, but I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to get involved in any other altcoins. As it's made its comeback, I've continued to invest in Bitcoin. I've continued to invest in Ethereum. I do think it's the future. I do think that it's very important to have a decentralized way to transact that's not controlled by the government. I mean, everything you guys have been talking about with regards to control is kind of spot on. I'm not so into, I don't go as deep with the different, if you want to call them conspiracy theories, whatever you're calling them. But I'm definitely surface area on all those. And I definitely believe that, we are, or most people are living in a matrix. And whether that's regarding finance, whether it's regarding your health, whatever it's regarding. You know, they want you to go for a yearly doctor visit, so then they can tell you there's something wrong with you, so then they can kick you over to the pharma company so they can prescribe you something. Then they can kick you back to like the physical therapist, so then you can go do physical therapy on something that you might not even need it for, and then you get kicked back to the doctor so you can go get your checkup on how the physical therapy is going, and if the pills they prescribed you are actually working. So it's like it's a whole matrix, and then they kick you to the insurance company, so the insurance companies can screw you and charge you a ridiculous amount to go to these visits where you get bad advice based on studies that have been done that you may or may not even fall into. So like I view that simple. I feel like that's a simple simple example in the medical field, because I've been sucked into that so many times with various injuries. And you could take that and put it into finance, and you could take that and put it into religion, and you could take that and put it into whatever you want. Food, I mean, it is the same all around. So I know maybe I took a tangent there, but yes, I'm in Bitcoin, but I do control it. I invest in those two areas only. I'm also involved in the stock market. I invest in that as well. However, I do not invest in any big tech. I got out of all big tech because I am fundamentally against what they stand for and what they are trying to do, even though we're on probably some of their platforms right now. And what they're trying to do by controlling the narrative and controlling freedom of speech. Whether I agree or disagree with some of the people that they don't allow on their platforms, I completely disagree with trying to control anybody's ability to speak freely.
No, I really appreciate that. And it's interesting that you just mentioned about big tech. I'm going to leave the big screen on you because I'm going to ask you another question. And I like looking at your face and listening to the accent, even though I can't repeat it. So, in terms of like the big tech thing and that decision, was that, I'm not on any social media. I've got all of my businesses have no social media, but YouTube is the only channel that I have. Everything else, I don't have anything. My decision was based around my mental health because I didn't think it was good for my mental health. What was your main decision and kind of turning point? Was there something that you saw and thought, this is a hard no for me and it's just pushed too far? Or were you in it and you kind of were thinking, I don't feel great about this? Or, because I know a lot of people do have investments in big tech. It's the kind of the first place that they go. But what are your feelings around it?
Well, there's a couple of things. So after I sold my business and wrote this book, like I was on the path of being an influencer. So I spent all this money and went to these masterminds where the other influencers were there teaching you all this stuff. And then I started having a content schedule. I was sitting there and writing a month's worth of content about what I'm going to post. It felt so fake to me. And doing it for a little while, and my whole book is about being authentic. I ripped my soul open and told about all my demons in this book. And here I am faking writing content for about how I might feel in 2 or 3 weeks. It's bullshit to me. So after I invested a year in that, I realized it doesn't. It's not the vibration that I want to be giving out. It's not it's not authentic to me. So I scaled back on how much I was on the technology platforms. I'm still on them. When it comes to the investment side, though, it was earlier this year when they started banning people I don't even like, but they started banning them and banning their ability to speak online. That's when I drew the line. When WhatsApp, came out, when Facebook came out, WhatsApp, and said, we are now taking all your data. Okay. WhatsApp was designed as an encrypted end-to-end encryption, so nobody can see your messages, nobody can take your data or anything like that. Then Facebook bought them, and now Facebook wants to start sucking all your data out of WhatsApp. I've been trying to get WhatsApp. It's impossible because I live in Mexico now. In the U.S., I wouldn't have it. It wouldn't be an issue. But we're living in the U.S. again, sorry. But I will live in Mexico or come join Patrick or somewhere else, Matrix. But it's very difficult overseas to get off of it because so many people are in it. So, but the basic premise of how they and then buying up other companies who are actually there initially to protect us, and now they're being bought by these big tech companies, and that protection is gone. and they will steal your data and all that stuff. That's when I drew the line. And when Parler, they started suspending Parler and all these other apps, that's when I sold my Facebook, my Amazon, my Google, and I made a lot of money in those stocks, and I sold them. And I tried to start talking to my father, who's big in the stock market, about aligning our fundamental values with the companies we invest in, not looking at like the growth charts and what company is going to make us the most money, but investing only in companies where our morals and ethics are aligned with those companies. And that's kind of how I try to approach it now.
No, do you know what? I love that. Thank you so much for going into that. And it is all about alignment. You know, everything is about alignment. And one of the things I've been looking at lately is, especially in the crypto space, is the projects that I invest in, like the altcoins that I'm looking at and all the different things that I really enjoy looking at, is the ones that are in alignment with my true values, with my core values. There is some great interesting projects, but they're not truly in alignment. Whenever I have this little pull, it's like when I'm looking at something, I'm like, oh, intuition, call it the Midas touch, whatever it is, whatever I touch goes up. And my friends are like, Nat, it's really good. This is amazing what you're doing. But it's just, I feel the essence of a project. And I truly believe that if we keep making decisions in this planet and we keep making decisions that are in alignment with who we want to be now and who we want to be in the future, we're all together collectively guiding our way there. And I have a business in sound. It's in, it's not just a radio station, it's sound, energy, vibration. Everything that I study is around alignment. It's about metaphysics. It's about harmony. It's about bringing in that truth within yourself. Because when you're standing in truth, this is one thing that you touched on at the very beginning, Adam. You said about manifesting. A lot of people don't. One of the biggest things for me that I found out that game changed my life is when I broke my back. I had a week in bed. I had more than that. I had 6 months in bed. But the first week, I did absolutely nothing. And I got everything I needed. And I realized that it's our inability to get out of our own way that's a problem. And now I don't manifest. I don't try and manifest. I don't do any manifesting. I show up. God's got a better plan than I have. And whatever happens in that day is the thing that's meant to happen. And for me, that's what's brought me into a place where there's no overwhelm. There's no anxiety. I'm not getting stressed. I'm literally just showing up and I'm falling into alignment with the things that actually make, give me goosebumps in that day.
Those are the things that
go for it.
Those are the things that I teach. When I talk about removing anxiety and depression, it's not a matter of doing anything other than attempting to uncontrol everything that you think you need to control. So there's this stream you were talking about, waves, right? You can look at this. You can look at a big flag is the best representation. In malls all over the place, there's those massive flags. You can watch these things, and they appear to be rippling in a very strong wind where this massive flag is standing straight out. You can watch this flag ripple, and you realize at some point that the flag is not rippling. It is just simply giving you a visual of what the wind is doing. And the wind is going up and down. So the frequency of the wind is a visual representation on that flag. You're seeing it go up and down, just like audio waves, just like the stock market, just like anything, it goes up and down. There is a frequency to absolutely everything. There are people out there that don't have to know a damn thing about money. They can just spot patterns, and these are the greatest traders in the world. And there's this fascination when you understand, like, the fundamental of investing is, I'm going to take my $100 and I'm going to go and buy Pepsi. I'm not going to buy Coke anymore because of their whitewash racist training. So I'm going to buy Pepsi with my stuff. And so that's the fundamentals of investing. I take my $100 and I give it to Pepsi. That's what the general population believes investing is. Investing is a beast. The market itself is a beast. The market is riding its own wave, creating its own trends, doing its own thing. We can say that we're in control of the market. We can say that we're in control of everything, but it is merely a frequency. And this is something that could go over and over and over again and be proven. But I can tell you this, you can take any major investor, minor major investor, so midstream, whatever, anything that's of value to you. If your investment portfolio is 1,000 and you put in $200, that's a substantial investment to your portfolio. You can literally watch your entire portfolio shoot up when you do that install. Where's my camera? Shoot up when you do that install, right? And then over time, you'll watch it trickle back down to where it was naturally going to be. The same applies to a withdrawal. For 99% of the time, you pull a withdrawal out, it'll drop. You can see that go straight down, and then it'll just trickle back up to where it was naturally supposed to be. So your own personal portfolio has a natural investment, just like the flag that's flapping in the wind, just like any other frequency ever is a series of up and down waves. This is a series of waves. So when you can tap into a natural frequency, when you can tap into a created vibration, you level through it. Your brain, for example, isn't creating thoughts. Your brain is tapping into thoughts. You are resonating through your body, just like the radio doesn't create music. The radio takes it from somewhere, takes a frequency from somewhere and amplifies it. Your brain takes a frequency from somewhere and amplifies it into you. You think you're having natural thoughts, but something out there put those thoughts. You tapped into those thoughts. And when you raise your vibration, you go from, me personally, my story, huge into cocaine. Mother, I loved cocaine. Huge into sales. I was high pressure, high powered sales. I could sell everything and I was great at it and I was ruining lives and I hated myself. But I had everything they told me to have. And that was the vibration that I was in. Like, nothing can be any different than this. This is how life is. I've done everything they've told me to do. This is the vibration that I'm on. Then you get out of it. Then you step up and you go and you go. And then your brain is now tapping into a different frequency. You're living a life. You're living an experience that at the lower frequency, you could never have ever imagined, because you're now tapped into a different frequency. So when it comes to money, when it comes to like the title of your show, Unfucking Your Money, right? The money is merely a result of what you're doing. Money is simple. When you're on a different frequency, when you believe in a different set of things, when as Michael brought up earlier, he was hiding money, he was doing this, he was doing that, he was using his money to defend his money because of his point and his ego and all that sort of stuff. That's when it's bad. That's when it's bad. But when you're out there going, I want to do the best I can possibly do, be the best I can possibly be, you realize you're doing it for you. Like Patrick said, you're rebuilding you for you. So when you're in that frequency, other people are coming to you. Because of that frequency, the four of us are sitting here right now because we're all on the same page, doing something amazing, regardless of money. Money will come and go. None of us are getting paid for this. None of us are doing anything other than having a conversation and hoping to spark something in somebody else, because that's a frequency. And that's how the world works. Even when you're on the lower frequency and shit's shit, that's the frequency. That's what you're observing. But you can get out of that. You're supposed to get out of that. There's this myth, this horrible story that says a leopard can't change its spots. And we're beaten over the head with this from a very young age, that you are who you are and nothing's going to change. The only reason we exist is to be pieces of shit so that we can elevate from our experiences, so that we can make our mistakes, and so that we can become something better. The only reason you're on this planet is to change your spots, right? No matter what anybody says. So when we talk about frequency, you can literally look at the stock market and go, this is a frequency. You can literally look at the flag waving in the wind and go, you're looking at the frequency of the wind. That's energy. You're looking at that. Audio waves. You can look at Aquaman in the water. Pop, 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 pop. They're talking, but that's a frequency. You know, every single thing runs off a frequency. What are you choosing or subconsciously tapping into? And where do you want to go? Because back to manifestation, all the bullshit that's in our lives, believe it or not, you manifested it. You're living the exact result of all the work you've put in. You want different results? Put in different work.
Totally. I love that. The way that you've explained that, it really hasn't hit the nail on the head. And there's something that I really started to understand in this last year that really changed the game for me. There are so many different perspectives in the world. There's so many different things out there and different ways of doing things. And we can get lost in our personal development world. We can go on this spiritual path and we get overwhelmed with the opportunities of how we can change the brain, how we can show up, how we can change our diet, how we can meditate better, how our relationships will do this. There's too many options because we're in an information overload. And it's the same when you look at investing. You can look at it from a technical analysis point of view, which is if you're going to invest in a company, you'd look at the managers within the company, you'd look at the way the company is run, you'd look at the technical details, you'd look at the P&L, the profit and loss, you'd check it out from a technical perspective and see, is this a sound investment? Or you can look at it from a fundamental analysis and you could say, well, outside of the company, what's happening in the rest of the world that might make that company change? Is Trump going to drop a tweet that's going to help, change the game for how that company runs moving forward? So that's another way of looking at it. And now you've got with crypto, you've got on-chain analysis. So you look at it from a crypto basis and you're looking at it from the perspective of the crypto market. How's that performing? And this is around one investment. You've got three ways of looking at one thing, and that can become a real problem if you don't.
Another investment.
Go on.
It's emotional. I've made a small fortune off what is it? Uniwand? Let me just pull that up.
Uni.
The reason I made that initial investment was because they had a unicorn on the front.
Totally. And I was just about to say, Uniswap. And this is the other thing. And this is why the emotional investment, that coming back to that, it's the you investment. Why are you investing? So these are all the three reasons that most people look at. But if you're not in alignment and you're coming from a place of overwhelm and you don't know where your finances are and your ass is in the air and your head's in the sand like an ostrich and you're having an argument that day, regardless of those three perspectives that are happening in and around that one investment, the biggest investment that most of us miss is the one within ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's the one where we're emotionally need to come into alignment. And that only comes from clearing the way. But when we go into the spiritual world, we don't clear the way. We replace everything that we've got that we don't like in our world with the chakras, with the ayahuasca, with the mushrooms, with all the other stuff, with the books, with the webinars, with the workshops. We literally just switch, and there's no room in there. There's no space to breathe. And I know, Patrick, obviously we'll come back to you for a second. You yourself have done that big, massive switch. And you said on one of my last shows is coming in. I know, Adam, I think you want to say something. Give me 1 sec. But you said on your one of our last shows is that you've done so much work, but you realized that you had like so much more to do without actually, you'd started, but there was so much there and you'd done so much already. But then you're like, oh, God, I've got more to do. And then you realize that you were just going to stick to your own path. And how is that for you in terms of like when you're looking at finance and stuff? How has that been for you? What's the relationship you've now got to investing and showing up? Because we can get lost in this spiritual world, can't we?
Yes, no, totally. Well, again, coming back to that, existing and moving from a heart space, that wholeness center, I didn't feel drawn to the stock market whatsoever. It's the same reason Michael was talking about, ethical reasons primarily. The stock market is a sham. It's just manipulated by big money. So I actually sold my house in Toronto last year. I sat in cash for almost a year. Because I was just like, terrified, but also suspicious of the stock market. I was like, fuck, there's nothing I believe in until crypto I started educating myself about it. And this is interesting, actually, because the decentralized basis of the blockchain is really attractive. And a lot of freedom seekers, a lot of spiritual people like ourselves are very attracted to it. And that's the primary reason why I'm in crypto now. Mostly. But I've also, because I'm a seeker of knowledge and want to look at all sides of it, I've also investigated what are the dark sides of crypto? What are the ways that it could be manipulated, that the powers that be could manipulate us? And I came across a woman named Catherine Austin Fitz, who I recommend
She's
everybody.
Amazing.
Oh my God. So I just want to recount her model of what she thinks is really going on right now. And it's the 5 pillars of control, which are the bankers, who are now all developing their own digital centralized currency, which what Adam was talking to earlier, where they can control you on every level. So the 5 pillars are the bankers, the big tech, the government, military, big pharma, and the media. So the bankers roll out the centralized digital currency. The tech platforms are censoring people and creating the cloud networks that will act as surveillance. The government and military, obviously, they're putting the satellites up, which will facilitate the cloud network. The big pharma, you will be forced to take the vaccine, the gene therapy, gene altering vaccine. And then the media is the propaganda machine, right? So those are the 5 pillars of control. And she actually feels that the blockchain and Bitcoin it's like, because there's freedom seekers going after it and good, smart, intellectual people building it, we are building our own prison. So the more we build out the blockchain, it's going to be co-opted by central bankers. They're going to install their central digitalized currency, and then basically we're fucked. We go into a neo-feudal technocracy where it's a surveillance state. Your money is controlled, your privacy is controlled, your movements are controlled by the smart grid. So I think it's not to throw doom and gloom on this beautiful conversation, but I think it's important to look at all aspects, because everybody can get airy and fairy and unicorn and rainbows about Bitcoin, but let's look at the darker aspects of it, the possibilities of it, right? Because I think that's worthy of investigation. But then I go into the place of, okay, well, by focusing on the negative aspects, am I helping to manifest it? And that's a question I've never been able to answer. You're talking about owning your own shit. And what you focus on is what you manifest in your life. Yes, I can see that on a more, micro scale, but on the macro scale, just becoming, and my personal answer, and I'd like to put this out to the group, is I think it's important to become aware of the problem space. to really understand what the people in power are doing, how evil it is, and how all pervasive it is, and where they can go with this. And from that space, being aware of the darkness, then I could be more embodied in the light. I can move towards solutions that counteract that. So I would love to just throw that out there and get some reflection.
No, that's really good. I know both of you wanted to talk. Michael, I think Adam said you first, if that's what that direction meant.
That was me agreeing. Oh, sorry, talking to him. Sorry about that. No, I was actually me agreeing with Patrick. The only thing I was going to add initially was just that Alan Watts, when you were talking about ayahuasca, mushrooms, and swapping out one for the other, Alan Watts said the best. He said, doing mushrooms and ayahuasca is tapping into something. It's making a phone call. You know, once you got the message, hang up the phone. Don't stick with that. Pick up where you're going and start moving into it. Don't get stuck in the drugs. Use them, but don't get stuck in them. That's what I was going to add to that. And sorry to cut you off again, Mike. I'm stoked to hear what you have to say too. Sorry about that.
I'm going to take your background. There's a little bit of background reception on your mic there, Michael. But I'm going to hopefully hope you can make it through. But go for it.
Yeah, I really think there's a balance, right? Like, there are no universal truths in my world, okay? There is truth to a lot in the universe, but not universal truth. So, like you were just saying, and I'll just touch on the conspiracy theorist stuff, right? Yes, be aware of these things, but don't like over-consume your mind where this is all you believe and nothing else in the world is true. That is not reality this is my opinion, okay? That is not reality. So yes, I can have a conversation about any conspiracy theory, but when you start just piling one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, there is no room for you to have a conversation. This is just you regurgitating what you have heard, right? Experience and your own experience must play into the picture. So when we say everybody who's a billionaire is evil, that is false in my world, okay? Maybe the majority of them are, but there are a lot of people who are doing good. They also may be doing bad. They can do both at the same time, right? But we must acknowledge that there are some that are doing good with their money. And I do believe, okay, that if you want to do more good in the world, the best way to do that is having the ability to spread your message, to, you know, open up these, let's just say, retreat centers, facilities, healing facilities, whatever they might be in our conscious world. And the best way to do that is by having an abundance of money. That does not mean we should be making money in ways that aren't driven in alignment and that aren't coming, as Patrick said, from the heart, from a heart-centered place. We definitely should be doing that. I've shifted to that model. You know, anything that's not in alignment, I won't do. And I made that commitment after I sold my business. I said, there is no way, because I ended up hating what I did. I was just good at it. But it wasn't in alignment. And I feel like everything needs to be in alignment with what you believe. And as you, you know, head down the spiritual route, which I did, and mine started by studying flow, by studying intuition, by allowing my intuitive guide to lead me on this path in life without having to know the answers of where I was going, without being consumed with expectation, without being consumed with trying to prove myself to somebody who really doesn't give a shit about me in the big scheme of things. That was the old me, but the new me has released expectation. The new me has released having to know the outcome of where I'm going, but believing in that my intuitive guide will lead me there. That's with money, that's with spirituality, that's with conspiracy theories, that's with government, that's with all of these things. So I try the best to live my truth based on my experience, but also based on the awareness of the control that we are all under. And I've definitely made a 180-degree shift from when the pandemic started to where we are now. And it's really opened my eyes to the massive control I was under and the blinders I was wearing. Because when you're in the matrix, you don't know that it's a matrix. You don't know that you're in it. This is just life. You just believe this is how my friends live, my family lives. This is life. What do you mean, matrix? What are you talking about? It's not until you allow other thoughts and opinions into your mind, then start exploring them, then start living them, that you can actually incorporate them into your life and be like, wow, I am being controlled in every single thing that I do. And it's what we allow, what we hear, what we let in our brains is a big, determinant of how we act and what we regurgitate and how we live our lives.
Yeah, totally. There's so much, like when you wake up on your journey, and I've explained this so many times in all the podcasts that I've done, when I stopped striving, I started thriving. When I stopped giving up that external journey of wanting more and being more and having more and doing more and wanted to be seen, wanted to be recognized, wanted to be known, wanted to be this, wanted to be that, dropped all of that. And I'm like, I'm just going to do whatever's in the day. And it's a much easier perspective. But the thing is, when you open up your mind, when you're willing to take on other people's opinions, you also have to realize that when you open the window, sometimes you're going to get a fly in. Sometimes you're going to get a wasp in. Sometimes you're going to get something in that you don't necessarily want in. And that can hover around your head for ages. And you'll be like, oh, wow, okay, cool. This must be how it is, until it leaves you again. But we do go through these experiences of listening to all these different bits of information. And something that I feel is very true for me is that I've realized recently that for me, there is one truth. It's our perspectives that change regarding the truth. And that's my understanding, is that there is a truth, but not everybody knows the truth all at the same time. People are coming from a different version of their truth because of how they see things, because how much they want it to be true, how much they don't want it to be true. So we're dealing with a large group of perspectives right now. But a lot of people who are in the, let's call it the truther community, or in the kind of, I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat, but I'm certainly open to ideas community, or I'm just asking bloody good questions and no one's given me a good enough answer community, whatever you want to call it, is that we are realizing now that all of us have a very similar mindset, and we all know that there is something that is fundamentally, and I'm going to swear, fucked up on this planet that does not make sense to the people who want to use their heart in order to be happy. You can't deny that. It's just there's several stories that will get you to that space. There's lizards, there's aliens, there's COVIDs, there's, Draculas, there's whatever you want to call them. And for me, there's one thing that I know, that on a path like this, when you are willing to face the problems, you can remove the problems, and then you can start living from that space. But we have this real lack and inability to be able to face our problems. We have the ostrich syndrome. We put, I do workshops on unfucking your finances and unfucking crypto and all this different stuff that I've got. And the amount of people that have their head in the sand, but their arse willingly in the air, which is a very dangerous position to be in unless you're up for it. Like, it's not the best place to be. And we volunteer there. We're like, okay, I'm going to live here with my arse in there. It's like, really? Like, do you actually know what that means? And it's now finances that the bit that I get a little bit worried about, that I think, for other people, because I've looked after myself and my family and my mum and dad. But the thing I get a little bit nervous about is that nobody really who, people spend all this time looking at conspiracy theories, don't look at their finances. If you spent enough time looking at finances as much as you do conspiracy theories, you'd realize you're probably going in the same direction anyway. But you realize that there's some real solid reasons that we need to take personal responsibility on this planet. And one of them is called hyperinflation. And if you don't understand inflation, I suggest you YouTube every single video you can. But we're not going into inflation. We're going into hyperinflation. And this is a very dangerous time, because your bread that you buy now for £2 or $2 or whatever it is could be paying $20 for it, because the actual value of money itself is going down. And the more money that is within the system, which is all these stimulus checks coming along, all of this money that's going into this system is going to bring the value of the pound and the dollar and everything else down. And that is a dangerous place to be, because what you get for your money today, you can't get for your money in the future. And I don't know where people are going to go after a pandemic, after a mental health catastrophe that we've had, and then after a vaccine, not going anywhere, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then we go into a place where you're the last bit of what you think which is your identity, which is attached currently to your bank account and your job or your influencer campaign or your Instagram account. When that changes, because the velocity of money is the way it is, and when that drops, where are people? Where are they going to go in their mind when everything else has been stripped back? That's the bit that I get slightly worried about, that I question, what's going to happen with that. Do you guys feel the same? Do you feel that that's coming? And is there any kind of tips or anything that you want to say to people that are kind of on this journey? Patrick, go for it first.
Yeah, 100%. I would say there's a massive crash coming. If you look at the cycles, like Adam was talking about, we've gone in boom and bust cycles every 4 to 7 years for the last 100. And we haven't had a downturn since the crash of 2008. That's almost 13 years. We are due for a massive correction. And the rate that they're printing money right now is indicative of it. This is going to be a crash that's going to put, the depression of the 30s, 1929 crash to shame. It's going to be so big, which is exactly why a lot of people are moving into Bitcoin as a hedge against the dollar, because the dollar as the global reserve currency is devaluing at an alarming rate. And, I think it's being artificially buoyed, but definitely during the pandemic, by this transfer of wealth from out of the middle class, out of the small businesses, into the corporations, into Apple, into Amazon, into Google. That's artificially inflating the stock market. So we are due for a crash. I believe it's going to happen this year. And so get your shit in order. Get some Bitcoin, get some physical gold, get some physical silver, get some food, get some supplies, and get somewhere you can go, because this shit is real and it's happening very soon. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Adam, I'm going to jump to you next. I'm going to take you off mute first. That would help, wouldn't it?
For me, honestly, this whole thing, like Patrick said, you jump into Bitcoin and all that. They can also EMP Bitcoin. So, nothing makes any sense. Nothing's got any value if they slap an EMP.
EMP, electromagnetic pulse?
Exactly. So
okay, cool.
Do you
want to just dip into that before we jump over the big curve of the EMP? Just explain very briefly what that could possibly do.
Yeah. So somebody slaps an EMP, and these exist, then all of anything electronic in your entire vicinity stops working, right? And that's coming because that has to come because people are waking up at an alarming rate. Do you want to see people waking up at an alarming rate? Ladies and gentlemen that are listening to this fantastic show, drift on over to the Joe Biden Instagram. And I said this about a week ago on one of the other shows, and you just look at any photo on any comment and it's hilarious. Everybody is anti-Biden 1,000 times over. Hundreds of thousands of comments. Now they've been whitewashed. So hundreds of thousands of bullshit comments are involved. You want to talk about influence? Any major influencer on social media that's, often running over 100,000, people tend to run in packs so that they can do what's called super likes. They can push and promote. There are farms where you can buy fake likes and all that sort of stuff. And you can buy fake accounts and fake followers. These exist for the quote unquote poor people trying to make an impression. They also exist for the quote unquote ultra elite celebrity, yada, yada. So any celebrity account is also managed by somebody else. I mean, it's 99% true that your favorite celebrity is disgusting, is out there with their fake account doing their fake things, and other people are in control of it. So what they can do with that is they can use their own power likes. In other words, as a celebrity, they're not doing this. What they're doing is they're pushing and promoting the algorithm that is Instagram. So you're going to see random celebrities all over the place, all over Joe Biden's. You're going to see all these things because there's a flick. You can just press a button and these farms can just make all the celebrities say some dumb shit. Now, that Biden Instagram is filled with that. So when you go to any photo now, you're going to see positive stuff. You're going to see celebrities saying things. You're going to see all this stuff. Now, so there's an extra step. Just look at any of the comments on any of the people commenting on the thing, because they can't control that just yet unless they wipe out this sort of stuff. So when we talk about what's possibly coming, when we talk about what they can and can't do, if you picture a room full of 100 people, and maybe 10 years ago, and then we're just going to arbitrarily say 100 people, there's one person influencing 10 people to influence all the other people that are sleeping, air quotes, wherever my camera is. So now that one person is influencing the 10. And in today's day and age, that left 89 people to be like, oh, I want to know what's going on here. I want to know what this person's doing. I want to know what that person's doing. I need my information. I need to know what's cool. For me to do what's cool, I need to know what's cool. But what's happening now is there's the bottom half of that analogy, the people that are not closest to the quote unquote influencers, the 1 in the 10, there's 50 people behind them talking about their own thing. And it's, if you picture it being the bottom end of that group, that room of people, there's 50 people talking. Nobody's even paying attention to what the other group are doing. And then there's the middle ground. There's the middle group of people that are now turning around and paying attention to what the people behind them are doing. The tinfoil hatters, as you were. Now people are stopping. Nobody cares about what's going on the radio. People are turning the radio off in droves. I don't want to hear about the fake numbers. I don't want to hear them say things like, most Canadians are now supporting blah, 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 blah. And all the Canadians like, that's untrue, turning it off. So what's going on over here? They're searching for new things. So wherein there was one person influencing 10 people that were then influencing the other 89, there's 50 people back there. And there's 10 people now between the 1 and the 10 or what have you, saying things like, I could, but they're slowly turning around to be facing the other group, to be thinking for themselves. So when we talk about, again, the pros and cons with regards to what's going on with society and our money, the money is fundamentally flawed. It's not broken. It was designed this way. So when we talk about the slavery that is our money, and then if we talk about actual slavery in North America, we talk about the slaves that were owned in the 1800s, etc. That story was invented for us to or that action or whatever. None of us were alive back then, so we didn't even know what really took place, but we do know that the story that we were told right now creates a division wall between the slavery that we're currently experiencing and the slavery that was back then. We could say this isn't slavery because that was slavery, right? Now, when it comes to jails, we can say this isn't prison because that's a jail, right? So there's this differential, this difference between what's going on. When it really comes down to the fundamental of what we're doing and what we're experiencing, I've completely lost my train of thought. I'm not going to lie. That was a total loss right there. I don't know where I started with all that, but it was the influence. It's just gone, man. I was right in the middle of it. And I'm like, boom, gone. But I've had this conversation so many times, like I don't even remember, where to start, where to begin. What it really was. Oh, that's what it was. It was the delay. It's not going to be this year. This massive plug isn't going to be this year because in Canada, they're making you depressed. And no joke, as we're sitting here, I just got a message saying that they've pushed us back. Patrick, you're going to get a kick out of this. Toronto's been the one city in the entire world that has been locked down the longest. We have been in a don't leave your house type of lockdown for longer than anywhere else in the world. And today, or a couple of days ago, they bumped us out. So we're okay. We can be free range people for a minute. Today, while we're on this podcast, they just bumped us back into another red zone. They're like, no more in restaurant dining because of blah, blah, blah. Right. So they're pushing and pushing and pushing people to wake up. So when you tap into this stuff and when you see it, you're like, it's not bad that all these terrible things are happening. Because how long, if you're thinking about breaking somebody, how long do you have to stand on their face before they move your foot off their face? And right now the world is being kicked. And there's a bunch of people that are accepting this and embracing this, just like the Matrix. This is what life is. This is what I'm supposed to experience. But they've also in Toronto just passed a suicide law or a murder law where Bill C-16, I can't remember what it was, but it's like, if you're depressed, we'll give you a pill. You can kill yourself. We're going to go ahead and allow that.
What?
Yeah. That's a true thing. I can't remember the exact bill. It can be looked up in 10 seconds, but there's a bill that says clinically depressed or people that are depressed, we're gonna fast track your suicide. Feel free to call this number and we'll give you a pill. So they're making people depressed and then they're killing them. So now we're taking part in the ritualistic mask wearing of whatever bullshit is going on by whoever's pulling the strings. And now it's ritualistic suicide. It's ritualistic murder. So it's ritualistic sacrifice. It's all The Handmaid's Tale. It's all some part of something. For some reason, Toronto is at this epicenter. There will come a time where the people will simply stand up because the people are done with it. Why do we have to listen to these people? We're being crushed. We're being annihilated, destroyed. It's being intentionally manipulated under the guise of some fake issue, some issue that if the numbers were even 1/10 true, there would be somebody on Facebook that's documenting their struggle with COVID. There would be one in person documenting their struggle. Right? We don't know anybody. All we know is the people that have got it and that are sick and that you're a piece of shit and you want grandma to die because you're talking that way and all that sort of stuff. These are what the people are saying, right? The people that the powers that be. I've also come across instigators. Sorry, I'm taking up a lot of the time. I've come across instigators. I've come across, agent provocateurs. These are bots on Facebook. They are actual programmable bots that you can have conversations with on Facebook. I can point out some of the accounts. They're fascinating. They're not real people, but they sure as shit look like real people. And they poke and they prod and they raise doubt. So this whole thing isn't about, the experience that we're having right now is one giant psychological operation. And you can say good or bad, depending on what frequency you're on, but how long until the people push back? We're going to face a time where people are going to push back. That's what's coming. And what was the saying? Patrick was talking about the cycles, right? There's an old saying too: good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. Bad times create strong men. Strong men create weak time or good times. Good times create weak men, and the cycle continues. So when everything is great, we get weak and we allow people to come in and infiltrate and take over. When everything is shit, we stand up. So whatever the cycle is, it's just another frequency and it's just another experience. And we're here. And I'm really happy that I lost my train of thought and pulled it right back together like a real.
Thank you for taking us down the rabbit hole this evening. I love it. I think it's a peaceful pill. I've just noticed on Google, suicide, Canadian law. It's a peaceful pill, which is a lovely way of calling it as well. Hopefully. So I'll have a look into that afterwards. If anybody else got more information, please share it. So I'm just going to jump right over before we kind of end the show. I'm going to jump over to Mr. Michael Dash. Michael, what are your thoughts? What are your messages for people? What's the coup in terms of the current situation?
I lost the end of what you just said there. I think
that was because I put myself on mute far too early. I'm still shit at this. I'm getting used to it because usually I'm just here with the 4, but I thought I'm going to show off, and because Adam's on, I'm going to start putting one person on at a time, and I've just lost it. So I'm basically saying, what's your kind of top tips for people? Where do you think we're going? What do you think we're doing? And what kind of information have you got to kind of roll off the end of the show?
I mean, I'm going to take a little different approach to, the market correction and all of that stuff. I'm going to stay away from that, and I'm going to just talk about personal responsibility, and that everybody has, that it is a responsibility for everybody to educate themselves. Okay. And then when you are awakened, okay, and a lot of people listening to the show probably are, especially if they've stuck through the entire show and they're hearing us now, they probably are awakened in some aspect of their life. It is their duty to awaken the people around them. It is their duty to speak to their family and their friends, because we all are influencers. We all influence, whether we're fathers, husbands, brothers, sons, daughters, mothers, whatever we are. We all influence the circle, the 5 people that we spend the most time with, right? And it is our duty to bring this information to them. Now, whether they resonate with it or not is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to live our truth, right? Our responsibility is to know that and understand that the control that we are under. I mean, I got so much criticism because I moved to Mexico. I left the U.S. I said, peace the fuck out. I am not living in this matrix. And I can't believe that somebody would still be living in Canada at this point in their life. I can't, not pointing anybody out on this show, but I'm just saying, like, Canada makes the U.S. look like the gold standard of freedom. And I can't even believe what's happening in Canada. But I will not go back to the U.S. I will not go back to this matriarch, where if you break down every single industry that is controlled by power and money and all these things, it is controlling us. It is a vicious cycle. And if you don't step out, you'll always be in. So the more you learn and educate yourself, and I'm not saying I don't believe in being anything that's extreme to me is dangerous. The extreme conspiracy, extreme right, extreme left, extreme religious, extreme whatever, extreme billionaire. It's all dangerous, right? It's our duty to inform ourselves and to incorporate that into our life so we are living our truth that aligns with us, right? So we are influencing the people around us by living our truth, which is obviously influenced by things that go around us, but also by digging a little bit, by not being lazy and repeating things that you heard because you heard them. When you hear them, if it resonates with you, research them. I don't care if I say them, Patrick says them, or anybody else says them, right? It's your duty to dig a little bit further and find out what the truth or the perceived truth is. The one thing that I really kind of had enough of is people regurgitating other people's talking points. And then when you start questioning them about it, they can't answer your questions because they haven't done the work or research. They're just regurgitating machines. That doesn't help. Educate yourself, live your truth, and understand that the power is here to divide us and separate us. And that's how they stay in power. Because the more we're divided, the less we can come together to fight the people who are in power. And that's just not even my truth. That is the truth.
Boom. Mic drop. Before I say anything and round up the show, I just need to give Adam, is there any kind of Canadian comeback that you want to make there before, is that okay? Are you all right with that?
It's true. It's true. I mean, I'm not going to defend a country that is a pile of shit. We are a good people. Canadians are the kindest, and we really are a good people, but we're dumb. And that divide is coming up. I'm dumb. There's a lot of reasons for it, but I think that when we do, I don't know what the focus is on this, but Canada has been, he's not wrong. Canada has been separated. We've been under thumb for a lot longer. They're doing a lot of stupider things to us. Like we're allowing things to happen. We are allowing things to happen. It is the weirdest thing. And as a straight stance, I agree with him. I mean, what the fuck am I still doing here? I have no idea what I'm doing here. But this all happened so fast. And Costa Rica has been on my mind for like 5 years. Patrick's like, hey, I have a couch. I have no idea. I look at the background here. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Right?
If you don't take that couch, I'm coming.
Yeah, that's right. And what a great place to get started. I'll buy the villa next to him. We'll make a super villa. And this thing is ridiculous. This world that we live in, this suicide pill, this depression, and we're talking about printing money. We were talking about that earlier, printing money. Every Canadian citizen is getting $2,000 a month. Right? The Americans are fighting right now over a $1,900 stimulus check. Every Canadian has been getting that money. You know who's really getting the money? Little Ray on the corner, the drug dealer, right? Because every single person under the sun is getting that money. $2,000 a month is an insult to anyone doing something with their lives. But it is massive to every single person who voted for our prime minister. To every single person who's come in here and wanted free drugs and free this and free that and all this liberal bullshit. Right? This isn't a political point. This is a fact. There are more poor people in this country than there are rich. And they're going to vote Trudeau in when they take their $2,000 a month to do sweet fuck all. And then the guy on the corner who's selling the cocaine or the weed, he's getting all of those stimulus checks. And every single person on this, they're all high, they're all on drugs. And these guys are getting rich. Now the government's watching people do drugs and kill themselves on the drugs. They're watching the one or two guys out in the certain specific areas get richer and buy fancier cars. They're tracking all of this crap, and they're gonna be able to do whatever they want. Now that's a negative outlook on it. That's a negative spin on this. But again, I know you wanted to wrap this up, but you brought me back to Canada.
I know. I feel like I've just jumped back down the rabbit hole again. I feel.
No, yeah.
No, but it's not a rabbit hole. It's a real one, unfortunately.
That's what happens when you unmute my mic. So, I mean, I could go on for hours and hours and hours about this, and there's a ton of stuff that makes all the sense, but there's also massive amounts of positivity in this because the people will have their experiences. Every single person will have their experiences. They will push and push and push, and they will see that money isn't the answer, right? I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if we have to go into literally the dystopian Running Man version of the future, which is unreal. If you put the Running Man on now, you're like, holy crap. It's like they knew. Anyway, that all I can say is there's massive amounts of positivity that radiate depending on how you choose to view this frequency and what's coming. There's also a clear sign of manipulation and pushing. So Canadians really need to step up. Patrick, you got out right when you should have. And good for you. I am on my way.
Amazing. Well, Patrick, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Michael said earlier. At the root of all of this is taking individual personal responsibility. The only way we can change the world, which is currently a top-down authoritarian model, is to build the bottom-up model, which is first take responsibility for yourself, educate yourself, become aware of your biases, become aware of your traumas, heal them, and then be able to hold other people's perspective. Like this conversation right now, we don't agree on everything, but I can hold each of your perspectives. And then we're talking about sense making and making sense of the world. That's the only way we can make sense of the world, is by understanding other people's perspective rather than being so polarized like so many people are in the world right now. And that's how we change the world, is by taking full responsibility individually, and then we start to build community and ripple in or outwards from there. So
yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Well, for everyone that's kind of joined us live, thank you very much. And for everyone that's watching at home, I hope we haven't taken you down too much of a dark road, but it's a reality check, unfortunately. And we're living in a space where reality changes every 5 minutes. And, you know, I'm a personal responsibility coach. That's exactly what I labeled myself 2 years ago. Little did I know that I'd be coming into this realm that I'm doing now. But, you know, there's so much opportunity right now for you to change the game. And I've said it on nearly every show that I've done. You know, I've done one every single night from the beginning of January up until the middle of February. Every night I said that the world right now is the situation when you look at Aladdin, the cartoon, and you see the rug that's got a life of its own. That rug that we've been sweeping everything under for the past X amount of years in our lives has just got its own life, and it's fucked off. And we are here now looking at all of our bullshit that we've swept away. And we're like, oh, we've got to look at absolutely everything. Own it, re-own it, give it to someone, take it from someone. We have to look at every area of our life. And it is about education. It's about knowledge. It's about learning. It's about really coming home to ourselves and doing the best we can with what we have, with the limited information that we have right now, and make those serious changes. So you'll see across the bottom of here, there's a little running along the bottom. It says, where'snatat.com/ready to play the game. I do have a workshop that I have put together that is all about your finances. That particular workshop is basically looking at unfucking your finances. So it's facing your bills, getting them all in order, making sure you've cancelled things, you've closed things down, you're not paying anything too much money for all these different things. It's organizing your finances. It's one day. It's that one day that you said that you would do everything and you never did. I'm challenging you to doing that day. And the next workshop after that is unfucking your crypto. So if you have no idea about cryptocurrencies, I am not a financial advisor, but I do know how the entry level you can get into crypto, what it is, the basics of it, the understanding of the blockchain, what that means, what altcoins are, all of the kind of stuff. There is a workshop there. They are reasonable. I'm not going to charge you through the roof. They're just £30. I was going to say dollars then, but I'm definitely not over there. £30. And I've done this because so many people kept asking me from my shows, I just want to help. I want to help you move into the right direction. I don't have all the answers, but I can definitely help you get over the bridge from the cash to the crypto, and look at that from a serious perspective. And then you can make some informed decisions based on your own finances. So I did give these guys an opportunity to kind of plug themselves. So very quickly, in under a minute, can you tell me, Patrick, where we can see and find your stuff? I know it's underneath, but just give everyone a shout out, or tell them if you've got anything you want to push.
Yeah, totally. My podcast is my primary focus right now. I'm really enjoying it. It's being-podcast.com. You can go check it out. Michael, all three of you have actually been guests, which is really exciting. Other than that, just find me on Instagram at Patrick Cooke Life, and we can connect there and find out more about what you need, how I can support you.
Thank you very much. Adam, you're up next.
Yeah, I have a lot to say most of the time, but this time I'm not in a hurry to promote anything. We are, believe it or not, we are chock full right now, and we're just having a good time. We're just having a great experience. If you're interested, ladies and gentlemen, in knowing a little bit more about what we're doing, or seeing a little bit more of our motivation of how we talk, think, and do, you can head over to the mentalmasteryalliance.com. All of the Instagram is linked there, the podcast, Facebook, everything's all linked there. So the mentalmasteryalliance.com. It is, I'm sure it'll be in the footnotes as well for this episode, but yes, we welcome everybody. Come on over. If you have any questions, you can shoot us a message and somebody will reply to you. A person, not a bot. We're here to help.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, Adam. I'll have you back at some point, going even further down the rabbit hole, I'm sure. Maybe not on YouTube, though, because I might get kicked off. Oh, I think I got a pest mute too soon then. What did you say?
Yeah, I won't come onto your YouTube show, and that's doing you a favor. We'll do the
We'll do it offline somehow. Thank you. And I'm going last but not least, Michael Dash. Last comments anywhere we can find you?
Sure. Besides promoting Canadians to leave the country, I am promoting my book, which is Chasing the High, an entrepreneur's mindset through addiction, lawsuits, and journey to the edge. It's on Amazon, and I read it. So if you can deal with this Jersey accent for 4 hours, it is also on Audible. And if anybody's also interested, we have a retreat coming up in Costa Rica, right in Patrick's backyard. And even though he hasn't said yes yet, he will be saying yes in the next couple of days. And he will be joining you. So if you want to see Patrick and me, Imaloa Institute, August 15th through 19th, for any entrepreneurs focused on mindset and focused on mental health. We're going to have a great 5 days there. And you can find me on, unfortunately, all the social media channels.
Thank you. If you can get me a Nat's allowed to work over here visa, I'll come. I'm like, hi. I just need a reason to leave the UK that they'll allow me to do so, and then I'll be there.
We'll see what we can do.
Yay. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. This is, as I said, it's the first in the series of the Unfuck Your Money series, Unfuck Your Life series. We've got so much going on around natural law, not common law. It's not common law before anybody says anything. This is all to do with natural law. It's to do with money. It's to do with, everything that's going on around this, the world at the moment that will help you move into a better space within yourself. Personal Responsibility 101. If you haven't yet downloaded the app for my radio station, you can go to I Am Sound in the App Store and the Google Play Store. You can also check us out. We do have a TV channel on Roku, which is very exciting, but it's not fully designed in the way I want it. So although you can search for I Am Sound, I prefer it if you waited a week until the design's sorted out, and then I'll feel much better about it, because otherwise I'll have a heart attack until then. And then we'll be on Apple TV, and we'll also be on Amazon Fire Stick very soon, with a lot more content from a lot of the partners. And our membership starts at the beginning of April. So I'm very happy about that. So for everyone that's watched us, thank you very much. Guys, you stay there. For everybody else that's at home, thank you so much. We're going to end the broadcast now, but I will be back sometime in the next 2 weeks with the second episode, and we will see you. Thank you. If you've got any comments, make sure they're nice, and we'll be nice back too. Bye for now.